you are also competing with the guy that goes on TikTok and eats 10,000 pieces of meat and is a superstar, right? So superstardom is no longer exclusive to artists or filmmakers or actors. I really feel for the artists.
Welcome to The Artist Works, where we explore the labor concepts and inspiration behind the art illuminating and shaping our world. My name is Evan Papp, and I'm the executive producer for EML Publishing that creates content on labor, political economy, art, and culture. We are a proud member of the Labor Radio Podcast Network. Today, I'm speaking with Foza Fawehinmi, who is an award-winning lawyer and the president of Digital Music Commerce and Exchange Limited, an intellectual property valuation management and administration company serving sub-Saharan Africa. Over the last 9 years, she has served as a legal advisory and business consultant for some of Africa's most reputable entertainment companies and artists. So Foza, thanks so much for your time.
Hi, Ivan. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Great. So could we begin by you talking about how you got into the Nigerian music industry?
So I think it was just one interesting evening. I was walking down the hallway of my university and I saw a group of boys trying to do a cover to a particular song. And I joined in the recording session. It was fun. Then I took the song and sent it over to my friends at the radio station in Lagos and it got played. And for some weird reason, everybody just thought I was a superstar. And I got into management because they said, "Oh, managers, you do really fantastic, at this." And that's how I started in the business of music management and music itself. I was a law student then, so at that point, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to specialize in. Then once I got the opportunity, I started to research on how I could apply the law and music together to make a living. And I found out about entertainment law and, here we are. So it's been almost a decade deep in the business and 8 years as an entertainment lawyer.
That's awesome. And have you made any music yourself? Or I did see an interview where you were doing some raps and things like that you were talking about rapping when you first started.
Yeah, I tried. It's not my talent. I gave up really quickly. I gave up really quickly. He's not my talent at all. But I have very good ears for music, so I do a lot of A&R and supervising in the studio and whatnot. But I can't write to save my life. I can rap what you write, but I can't write.
Okay, well there may still be a future there. I too love getting into the studio and making music and just being around the creative process. And Nigeria, a lot of people just don't know, if they don't know, that Nigeria is one of the hottest music scenes in the world right now. And it's producing some of the most cutting artists. I grew up listening to like Fela and like the Afrobeat, and now it's just advanced and evolved in so many different ways. And there's such a creative energy also with the Nollywood of Nigeria, a very large music and video and film scene as well. And I lived in Zambia, and I also was aware of a lot of copyright infringement and people not sharing the proceeds of the artist's works. So could you talk a bit about why intellectual property is important to protect the artist's work and labor?
So I think it's right now it's very important for Africa because we had an estimated 1.4 billion on the continent, and 70% of that demographic is under 40, which means that there's going to be a high burst of creativity and all the solutions that the world is looking for, I believe strongly lies in Africa. So intellectual property is what protects and helps you to monetize and make money from your creativity. For the longest time in Africa, I will tell you that land is a form of security, and that's kind of very entrenched in our culture as more of tangible property than the arts or creativity or knowledge. So apart from even just creativity, we have a kind of like a cultural problem paying for consultation or service. If it's not something we can feel in our hands, it's usually a problem Africa wide.
Yeah.
For me, the gospel of intellectual property has been on the rise for the last 10 years. It's going to get better. In the last decade, the education and awareness for intellectual property has been on the rise. So it's quite important that intellectual property is being regarded because the solutions and the wealth that Africa needs in the next 2 decades relies heavily on creativity, so.
Absolutely. And continue just shaping the global culture.
Yeah.
And being such a global marketplace now, people are really starting to tap in to African music, West African music, and Nigerian music. And could you talk about the Digital Music Commerce and Exchange Ltd, which was founded in 2018?
So I started out as like an entertainment lawyer, then music manager, and the whole nine yards. But along the way, I think sometime in 2017, I came across a case that exposed me to understanding that uh to understanding the cultural value of art itself, the historical value of what art represents to us as a society. So you have music that predates, the 2000s. And before then, we had the physical CDs, the vinyls, and all that. And these historical reservoirs and these cultural pieces we've not done a good job in translating them into the digital world, right? And so they're losing a lot of revenue, they're losing a lot of money, they're losing a lot of essence. And the people currently heavily investing in the arts in Africa don't necessarily understand the history because they aren't here with us, so they don't understand the history, they don't understand the culture. So for us, we saw this problem and we said, "Yo, it's important that some people come together and sacrificially ensure that these historical pieces or these historical arts are preserved, digitally, and so that it can function well in the digital age and also make proper revenue, that services their estate." So Digital Music Commerce and Exchange Limited is basically an IP company that administrates and protects and exploits in a lot of these catalogs, these pieces, and ensures that they are doing well in the digital world. Because what it is we started seeing was that we started seeing a lot of squatters, a lot of infringers, on these works because nobody paid attention to it or nobody knew particularly how to navigate the waters of legacy catalogs. So that's basically what we've been doing for the last 3-4 years, just looking for the rights owners, tracing the proper chain of title, liaising with government because many of these artists died without a will. So we liaise with a lot of government officials, we liaise with a lot of the DSPs to say, yo, this person distributing isn't legal, this is illegal, this is not illegal and stuff. So basically, that's what we do. And we also put numerical value on intellectual property. So you bring your work to us and we do some calculation and tell you, okay, this piece of album is worth $2 million or is worth $1.5 million as such. So that's basically what we do at DMC.
Awesome. And you also have a blog that you keep up with the hashtag #MyTribalStories, and in it you mentioned that potential client's representative wanted you to create an artist development path for his new record label. And so could you walk through like what that would even look like to create such a path?
It starts with the first initial conversation. Sometimes it takes about 3 months to get it done because you have to understand what's going on in the headspace of the person that comes to talk to you. Some people are looking for long term, some people are looking for short term. So if you're giving a long term solution to a short term person, they will probably look at you crazy or say you don't know what you're doing. you give a short-term solution to a long-term person, same thing. So it usually starts with a conversation and understanding what's your vision, especially in life, because music is a career path and life is life, right? So at every point in time, your life purpose and your career purpose should be able to merge. And that almost to an extent guarantees you, some form of fulfillment and happiness. So if those two things are divergent, it kind of causes chaos and unhappiness. So for me, I'm always um very, very quick to understand what do you want to achieve. And my team and I will create like a path to show you, all right, if you make these kind of decisions, you're going to end up in this kind of place. If you make this kind of decision, you're going to end up in this kind of place. So it's usually harder because a lot of people don't when you ask them this question, they don't exactly know what they want. They just have an overarching, oh, I want to be a big superstar. All right, cool.
Yeah.
What kind of big superstar? Do you want to be an American superstar? Do you want to be a Nigerian superstar? There are different elements to it. And when you ask those questions, most times they go for like 2 months and don't come back because you're like asking them so many deep questions and stuff. But I try to make people understand that music is not just fun. It's a business, it's a product, it's a lifestyle. So when people realize that, they get very finicky and very scared, and most time never come back. So yeah.
I understand that, but yeah, to ask those hard questions up front and to really get the artist to understand that there needs to be a full commitment. There's work to be put in to really achieve it. And I also have followed artists talking about things like streaming music, like Spotify, and how some are, if you're a top streamer, you can make a lot of money, and then if you're not, you're just getting peanuts and pennies. How do you see things like Spotify, because it does expose people to new music more than ever before, but it may not always compensate the artist?
I think as we grow as a society, we always look for the easiest option to do the hardest things, and I feel like that's what DSPs are doing, which is just, oh, I mean, like they're telling us, oh, there's 100,000 songs being ingested in Spotify every day, right? So it's like, oh, am I going to sort through each artist, to listen to? Do I want to curate a playlist for this, or I'm just going to go to workout playlist, or I'm just going to go to this, or I'm going to get that? So for me, it's like, for the fans, it works, and I feel like it's a short-term solution, because now the other day I was like, I was scanning through, some of our newest superstars in Nigeria, and I was trying to, find personalities. And it was so hard, because it was just like, all right, so you got the music, what else? When from the millennial age, when there was Michael Jackson, it's like, yo, Michael Jackson, it is Michael Jackson. Like, there's a personality, there's a story. It wasn't just the music. So if Michael comes out and says, oh, I want to sell a bottle of water, I would buy that because there's an experience attached to it. Right now, it's just, people are just like dumb, 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 because there's not like mathematics to it, right? So for example, Spotify, I have an artist that we did an experiment last year of release songs every 8 weeks to see the calculate, like the margin, because any label that wants to talk to you, any big investor that wants to talk to you, the first thing they say is, oh, what's your Spotify numbers, right? So you go there. So we're doing an 8 weeks interval, and we see like the numbers are steady moving. Then we stop for like 3 months, and it collapsed by like 200%, the listeners. So I'm like, this is such a wrong metrics for measuring, who the artist is, or the impact that the artist is having. So I feel like it's more of, for the fans, it's cheap. It's a cheaper option. It's an easier option, right? For the artist, it's like, it's a harder time, because now you're just like, how do I create? Because apart from Spotify, you are also competing with, the guy that goes on TikTok and eats, 10,000 pieces of meat and is a superstar, right? So you're competing. So superstardom is no longer exclusive to artists or filmmakers or actors. It's not like anybody from any random place can be a superstar. So I really feel for the artists. It's not like very expensive to push me. I mean, music has always been a capital intensive product, right? But now it's just like 10 times harder. And the competition is just unfair because the guy that is on Spotify that has, 1,000 listeners, but in his hood can draw out 5,000 people, on a $20 ticket to come watch him perform and kills the performance. But there's another guy that has gamed the system and has like 10,000 listeners on Spotify, and you get an advance of $30,000 from a distributor. So it's a very rigged game. That's just my
yeah. Yeah, totally. And yeah, the whole like just you need to put out more and more content regardless of quality, and a really good album is going to take a lot of time working with musicians and sound engineers, and you got studio time to pay, and then mastering and distribution and all these other things. And events are, I think, a really good gauge too for people to get out, but you just can't get the numbers that you can on TikTok from people just eating meat, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like an all-round tough thing. So
yeah. So I want to be cognizant of your time, and I want people to be able to follow your work as well. And I saw, or I listened to an interview you had a few months ago, and you mentioned you may have a project that you're working on. I know it's not always the right question to ask of like when is this, or if you're writing a book or not, and when do you think it'll be done, because that puts a lot of pressure on it. But are you writing a book right now?
I've already announced the date for release. It's supposed to come out February 17th, 2023. It's a book about just literally just chronicling my journey from when I started out to now. I've announced the dates for release. Hopefully elections in Nigeria doesn't, because when elections are around, everything is in the air, but it'll be released on my 30th. So it's just like an interesting journey, because I've kind of, when I was coming up, I didn't exactly have any public reference to see what someone, like a young woman that was going through, an uncharted territory or part to lean into. So it was quite tough for me. And I always have requests of mentorship and stuff. And I'm just like, well, I might have just put together some stories of my experience, and hopefully people read it or find it interesting. It's been a hardest journey. I actually didn't know how hard it is to write a book, so it's like, it's really hard, because every time we go through, I'm like, people going to read this? Is it interesting? Is this funny enough? Is it, I'm like, is this, why would anyone want to sit down and listen to this and stuff? So it's like, it's been a humbling journey, because I'm also getting to, I think when you work so hard and you just keep going, you forget the little things. So having to recount the memories, I recount some successes, you're like very grateful and just happy, So I'm excited, and I look forward to the book coming out. I think I have like it's just a lot of like press and all that going on right now, and I'm just like, I just want to work, guys.
Yeah. Are you working with an editor as well?
Yes, I am. Yes,
okay,
yes.
cool.
They are very tired of me, because I'm like, I want it funny, but I don't want it too funny. I want it. Yeah, well, hopefully I'll send you a copy when I'm done.
Yeah, I would love to read it, and if we can find some time in 2023 after you do your book tour and everything, I'd love to interview you about that as well. So
thank you so much, Ivan.
And where do you see optimism and hope going forward? Because the world is on fire. There's cataclysm everywhere we look. And what gets you out of bed and inspires you, and that some advice you can leave maybe for the younger folks who are just trapped in a world of pessimism?
I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday, I think we woke up in Nigeria, and one of our favorite superstar, lost his child, and it I thought that because I've suffered so many losses in my life. So, I think someone woke me up around 7 and I was like, yo, this happened. I was like, all right. I switched off my phone. I said, I'm going to sleep, wake up. It's going to be, fake news, right? When I woke up at, an hour later, I put on my phone and I see, the news is true. Then I see Takeoff is dead. Then I see that there was a fire incident somewhere along where I was supposed to go work. And I was just like, all right, I literally just closed my laptop, closed everything yesterday and said, I'm just going to listen to music and chill and just sleep, and chill. And I had a very blue day, but I called out someone I love. We had conversations. I looked for things that made me happy. And I just held on to, the center. I always try to find centers. Why am I doing this? What's the purpose for doing this? What's the end result for doing this? Sometimes there might not be any answer to it, but I always try to go back to the center, right? For people that are spiritual, you go to God, you go to Allah, you go to, whatever that center is. I find people that I love and I hang out with them. So yesterday I just, called up my, one of my most loved persons and we had conversations. You know, it wasn't a judgment thing. It was just like, I know you're ranting. I know you're hurting. I can't piss why I'm hurting, but let's just talk. Right. And when we finished, we listened to some music. I said, oh, let's go see a movie. And it wasn't completely happy, but it was like a bit of relief. I woke up this morning. I'm like, all right, I can get through the day. And for me, it's just for me, I just keep saying like, what do I want to be remembered for? Do I want, I tell this funny joke of when I die, like you guys need to gather all the videos of me dancing, and happy and jumping, and that's the only thing I want the world to see because what I came to give to the world, to make people happy, um to make people experience justice and experience fairness, So if it's to go out and make one person happy that day, it makes me happy. Because at the end of the day, everything that we chase, if you die today, it's the end. But the memories you've created is what lasts and what keeps us going and what keeps your loved one going. So the world is dark, but it's going to get better because we are still in it and we still have to live through it, but don't live through it out of like an obligation. Find whys. I always say there's always pain in there's purpose in every pain that you go through. So you find the why of that pain. It's hard, but we'll do it.
I love it. I love it. And I love the idea of just sharing the joy of life with the people around us, even when we're gone. So, Foza, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to put in the show notes to be able to follow you is on fozadoza.com
Yeah.
and also on Instagram and
Yes.
Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'll also tell people to sign up for your newsletter. And I really appreciate your time and everything you're doing. And
Thank you
I
so
look
much.
forward to more Nigerian music and West African music and African art coming out of the beautiful continent and lightening up the rest of the world. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your platform. Thank you so much.